Okay, dokie, people, what is happening? Hey, week 2 is in the books. Whether you're 0-2, 1-1, or 2-0, there is still so much football left to be had. I just
Come on,
want to take a
baby.
quick second as we start the stream, Badaki, and I want to talk to the 0-2 people. I feel like if you're 0-2, you feel like your world's falling apart. You think it's time to give up. Can I just encourage you? It is way too far from over,
Your season's
okay?
over. Your
There
season's over.
is so much time
Give
left.
up.
You have so much time to turn it around. You went 0-2. You can go 2-0. Don't forget that. And ultimately, you're not out until you're mathematically eliminated. We talk about this all the time, but I was 1-7 in our home league, Badaki. What was this, 3 years ago now? Was
Yeah,
this 2 or
3
3 years
years
ago?
ago.
I was 1-7 in
Yeah.
our home league. I won 10 games in a row, which included the championship. And just telling you, don't give up, all right? Plenty of football left to be played. Hey, do us a
Yeah.
favor as the stream begins and hit
I
that
gotta
like
change that
button.
road to 25K, by the way.
I know, I keep forgetting. There's just so
I'm
many.
gonna.
I'm
I'm
drowning in
sending you a message
content
right
trying to
now.
keep up.
Yeah.
Yes, so obviously we passed 25K. I think our new goal will be 30K. Clearly, math. But we appreciate y'all big time. Do us a favor, smash that like button. Very simple way for you to help this channel grow. We got a
Yep.
like goal today of 100 likes. With your help, we are confident that we can get there. There are, a couple bits of news that we should talk about before we continue and discuss, this week, if you will. So the first thing is, oh, okay, that's not what we
Oh,
wanted to see.
okay. Nice engine there.
Yeah,
Now, what's that?
there we
F1 engine,
go.
maybe? Little race car there.
Uh,
Huh?
yeah, I've got like a F1 like images that just rotates on my backgrounds. Okay, so Marshawn Lloyd is on the IR. Cade can't stay healthy, man. It's so
No,
unfortunate. I mean,
that sucks right now.
I do think in leagues where you have an IR spot free, he's worth picking up off waivers. I'll say that and just stashing there as a free stash. But man, the
Sure.
guy can't stay healthy. It's frustrating. Tua
Yeah.
is on the IR. He will be back. We know this. He said he doesn't want to retire. So we're very confident that he'll be back at some point this year. We don't know exactly when. The biggest news probably in the last 24 hours is Kareem Hunt signs with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
I talked about this yesterday. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. But in summation, I just think Kareem Hunt is cooked. I don't think he's a good player anymore, but I'd love to hear your thoughts before we continue. People heard my
Yeah.
thoughts yesterday.
No, no, no. I personally believe that it's going to be Carson Steele. I think he's a younger guy. I think he's a little bit more explosive. You're right. Kareem Hunt is cooked. He's probably going to come in understanding this offense, probably knowing how to pass protect a little bit better in those scenarios. Maybe he'll come in the second half of the season, depending how long Isaiah Pacheco stays out, and maybe become the goal line guy. But even then, I mean, even then, Andy Reid likes to get creative in the goal line. With Xavier Worthy now having the speed, you saw Travis
Yeah.
Kelsey have a toke last week as well. So like,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's Carson Steele personally. Carson Steele or Samaje P Ryan, but I
Yeah.
put my money on Carson.
I would order them Carson and Samaje in that same kind of tier, and then I would put Kareem pretty further down. I think he's cooked. I'm happy to be wrong. This to me feels like when Leonard Fournette signed with the Bills last year. You need depth. Remember, Clyde is not available right now. Pacheco's not available. You got to have bodies in the room. Bodies, bodies, bodies. Um,
Bodies.
but yes, Joe Mixon avoids a long-term injury. He could play this week. We don't know. Monitor practice reports throughout the week. I think that's really the main things. Let's get
Yeah.
to some questions here. Um, Here's the dealio, guys. This is how it's going to work today. We are going to answer questions from the top to the bottom in order. The only way that you can skip the queue is if you donate a super chat. Now, of course, if you're going to donate to the channel to support us and to hear our thoughts, we are going to prioritize your questions. So super chats do get prioritized. The first one is from Johnny Pena. Appreciate you, man. 10-man, half PPR, Jawan Jennings or Quentin Johnston. I assume this is a waiver wire question. I gave you props, by the way, on the waiver wire video. Don't know if you had a chance to watch the waiver wire
Yes,
video.
I have. Thank
But
you so much. I appreciate it.
Badaki has taken so much shit for over a year now for loving Quentin Johnston.
Many men taking
And
shots right here. Body shot. Bah, bah, bah,
it
bah.
looked really bleak for a long time. Quentin Johnson comes out in week 2, plays a high percentage of the snaps, 2 touchdowns. He looks good. I mean, he looks okay. The frustrating part about
Look,
Quentin
yeah,
Johnson last year was that they weren't utilizing him correctly. Like at TCU, this is a guy that you really wanted to get involved after the catch. And I think they're going to
exactly.
start doing that here with the Chargers. But shout out to you. You have loved him for a while. You've been drafting him late in drafts. I think on the waiver video, I said I'd spend about 10-15% of my fab on him. And I would prefer him over Jawan Jennings. How about you?
Yeah, I'll prefer him over Jawan Jennings as well. And just to have a little victory lap here, if you watch that game, which I did rewatch because I really wanted to see all those touches,
Yeah.
they got him creative. They put him quick slants, screens. There
Yeah.
was a deep ball where he won one-on-one as well on the outside, and that was against J.C. Horn, who was a top draft pick a couple years ago. So just keep that in mind as well. Obviously, that probably won't happen every week,
Yeah.
but we love the progression. That's what's exciting about it. The progression is what is I was believing for. So yes, thank you so much, John.
One
And yeah,
one thing I just wanted to quickly say is I do feel, even though I am picking up Quentin Johnston, I do personally feel like this wide receiver room is going to be tough to rely on this year, just in general. I don't know if you would agree or disagree with that statement, but this is a team that has made it very obvious that they want to throw the ball. I mean, our beautiful Justin Herbert has turned into a game
run the ball.
manager.
Yeah.
He has turned into a guy who is just not startable for fantasy football. And if you look at NFL team passing attempts per game, this is why it's difficult with the Charger wide receivers, guys. You can see the Chargers are currently 29th in passing attempts per game. All right. Only 3 teams are throwing the ball less often than the Chargers. So while I am picking him up, you can't not pick up a guy who, right, is attached to Justin Herbert, caught 2 touchdowns. You got to pick the guy up. But I
Yeah.
would just say lower expectations.
Yeah,
I
I
think it
completely
could be a McConkey week one week. It could be a Quentin week one week. But I do think Quentin, they're going to start using him, and he's playing well. Have to give credit where credit is due. So shout out to you for being a Quentin guy.
Yeah.
Okay, Tapman is the next
Tapman.
donation. He says best waiver: JSN, D-Rob, Quentin Johnston. If JSN is on your waiver
Sanders,
wire,
yeah,
I'm
you pick him
assuming
up.
you're in a very small league. I would
Yeah.
do anything necessary to get JSN on my team after he had 16 targets in week 2.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Like that was that was crazy targets. That's a game that I need to go back and rewatch
You know
just to
what,
see
Badaki? How about us,
those
by the way?
opportunities.
Do you remember that draft? You and I were debating the wide receiver one between Quentin Johnson and JSN. How about us? It's been
How about
rough.
us?
It has been
It
rough.
has been rough, and what's funny is that they both had like their best game on the same week.
Yeah.
So that's good. Good times, good time. But yes, JSN,
Yes.
I personally be picking up over Quentin Johnston. But yes,
And
thank you so
D-Rob, right?
much.
I mean,
Yeah.
if he's in your league, I'd spend over 50% of my. To be honest, if I was like, it sounds like you're in an 8-team league, but if I was in a 10 or 12-man league, I'd probably dump everything for JSN, like quite frankly, to secure him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I'm there with you.
all right, another super chat here from Cassius. Appreciate you. This is Cassius, who's from Australia. I see the AUD. Where are you from in Australia, Cassius? That's what I want to know. Thanks for the donation. It's your first super chat on the stream. Go ahead and read the question out.
Yeah, he said traded Martin Harrison Jr., Stevenson, Wando Robinson for Bijan, Coleman, and Corn. My other wide receivers are Chase, Neighbors, Addison. Want to know your thoughts on the trade PPR. If you're saying you gave up Martin Harrison and Stevenson side, I would have kept Martin Harrison Jr. just because I think Martin Harrison and Bijan really cancel each other out personally, and especially not really. Actually, I would prefer Martin Harrison over Bijan right now. I guess from what we
Really?
saw, brother, what we saw is like
I disagree.
I
I mean, dude,
I think we
Bijan
can see
Robinson
that.
has averaged over 16 points per game through 2 weeks. He's getting
Sure.
so many targets, and he hasn't even scored a touchdown yet.
No, and I completely understand that. I'm not disagreeing. I think Bijan is phenomenal, and this is not I hate Bijan take. I think what we saw from Martin is what we were expecting, and we probably drafted Bijan earlier, which we did. But I think what we saw this past week was like intentional. It was intentional, two touchdowns, and he was the main focal point of that offense. And I think it's only going to get better as the season goes on. But yes, Bijan against the Eagles, phenomenal game as well. I mean, my guy looked crazy.
Yeah, I
Um,
think you and I definitely disagree there, but that's good that we have 2 different perspectives. If we did a redraft, like we redid the fantasy draft, I would still have Bijan higher than Marvin. My issue with the trade is that Stevenson is so much more valuable than any of the other names on the other
Yeah,
side.
Bijan and Corn.
That's where this
Yeah, I
trade is
agree.
just completely out of whack for me. Stevenson, I would pay Coleman, Corum, and another piece for Stevenson, right? I mean, those guys. That's where the trade falls apart for me.
Yeah. And look, maybe this is a smaller league. Maybe this is a start seven standard league. Bijan, right?
Even then, I
But he
mean,
said this is PPR. He says wants to know your thoughts. The trade PPR. So the
even then,
PPR
right now,
perspective.
Ramondre Stevenson is the RB9 through 2 weeks.
Yeah. No. Oh, I
But
guess within the trade. Sure. Sure. I understand that.
yeah,
Anyways, hopefully that helps there. Bruce, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, please rank full
Bruce.
PPR. JSN, Shaheed, Thielen, Pierce. I think it's clear that it's JSN for the both of us. Then Shaheed. I'm assuming Pierce is Damian Pierce, Thielen and Damian Pierce. I mean, I
I would
don't.
assume Alec Pierce,
Oh, Alec Pierce. I would still
right?
have. I would put Alec Pierce ahead of Thielen. So it would be
Yeah.
JSN, Shaheed, Alec, and Thielen.
However, I would like to just let people know that there will be a stash video out tomorrow. The Panther wide receivers became very interesting overnight with Andy Dalton being the quarterback. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the video, but Aki, they're so long. We're doing so much work constantly. You and I are just
Yeah.
pumping out content. But
Yeah.
I went back and I looked at Andy Dalton's start last year for the Panthers. Remember, he started one game when Bryce Young was
Yep.
injured. And that
Yep.
game, Adam Thielen had 14 targets, 11 catches, 140 yards or something in a touchdown. You also had DJ Chark, who had 86 yards and a touchdown. Andy Dalton was dealing. He had over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. So I think we could see the offense change entirely. Like, genuinely, if you think about it, they might not have been able to do what they wanted to do with this offense because of Bryce Young's limitations. That might now change. So anyway, I don't want to get into a whole rant on Thielen and waste everyone's time, but I just feel like the Panthers wide receivers are low key like maybe Deontay's a buy low target, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I feel like the only person I'm personally buying low on is Deontay Johnson. In a redraft perspective, Xavier Leggett in a dynasty
Leggett needs to be
perspective.
stashed in redraft, I
Yeah,
think.
and redraft as well. Yeah, but like if you have Deontay, don't drop him. Give him a couple weeks here with Andy Dalton, and
Yeah.
then if Xavier Leggett is available, like Zach said, stash him, pick him up, see what you can go and get for him. If it maybe
Yeah.
I'm not buying a trade for, but you know what I mean.
I
Um,
I would personally, by the way, have Jason number one of these names this week, then Shaheed, then Pearson Thielen. We're on the same page, right?
Yeah, completely,
Okay.
completely agree. Munich, thank you so much for the super chat. He says 12 men, full PPR, pick two, Waddle, Monty Deontay, and Zach Moss. Once for sure is Monty. And I'm not necessarily sure if I can start Waddle
This is Zach
at
Moss
the
for me.
moment. Yeah,
Love his matchup. I mean, I talked about in our running back video, but I will start
it's
every
Washington.
Cincinnati Bengal I possibly can across the board. But Aki, I have been roasting my own team every week so far of the season. When the Bucks played the Commanders, I was like, play your Bucks. When the Giants played the Commanders, I was like, Singletary's in play, Neighbors in play. I'm going to say the same thing here for the Bengals. I'm starting Zach Moss. I'm starting Jamar Chase.
Eh,
I'm starting T. Higgins. I'm starting Joe Burrow. Shit, I'll throw Mike Gesicki out there. I mean, I'll start any name I possibly can versus the Commanders' defense. They're just awful.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. Waddle, you can't really trust. I just released a video if you can sell Waddle in a on the fancy shorts channel. I just want to get him off my team if I possibly can, and pivot to something like right now. I know Tua is going to be out for 4 weeks, at least minimum. He might even be out longer, even after he comes out of IR. So I would agree with you, Monty and Zach Moss, who is on
Yeah.
Monday night this
By the way,
week as
thank
well.
you. This is Munch's first super chat. Thank you for doing that, man. That's very kind.
Yeah. By the way, Cassius, he says he's from Ranwick. That's pretty close.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's what's up,
Nice.
man. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for the support. Offset Gaming with the super chat. Don't see the message here.
Yeah.
Let me know if you see that
There's no
message.
question there. I don't see it, unfortunately.
Uh,
Yeah, I can't find it. On to Juice Box here. Trade Kincaid and Ridley for Bowers. That feels like a lot.
really had a good game this past week. And Bowers, I mean, Bowers is just solidifying himself in that
Oh yeah,
offense.
dude. You know
Like, I
what?
mean,
I went to update my Dynasty rankings yesterday, which, by the way, if anybody out there plays Dynasty, my rankings were just updated for you guys. And
Where do you have Bowers?
yeah, I mean, how do you not have him as tight end one?
Dude, yeah, because what's Devontae Adams' contract looking like in a dynasty perspective?
But the thing is, even if Devontae stays, I mean, we got
I
Bowers,
know,
who
I
is the
understand.
tight end 2 through 2 weeks, not 8.5 targets per game, and he's not even a full time starter yet. By the way, he's played
Hmm.
68% of snaps.
They do have an
I
out
mean,
next year in 25. It's
which they
15
would
million for
they would
Devontae.
probably trade him before they cut him.
Exactly.
But
They'll probably trade him before they cut him,
yeah, and
which will just like catapult his value to the next
yeah,
level.
rest of
Um,
season rankings, I also have Trey McBride as my one, Bowers as my two
yeah, I
for
mean,
redraft.
Bowers is low key sneaky. I need to go back and just watch his opportunities because I haven't really watched.
It's We haven't even scratched the
Um,
surface.
yeah, that's kind of crazy. But
He's going
yes,
to be a superstar.
really in Bowers right now in a redraft perspective, I think if we need the depth, I'm okay with really in Bowers. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's Ridley and Kincaid versus Bowers, right? So
Oh,
um,
excuse me.
I
Right.
would I would prefer Ridley and Kincaid here still,
Yeah, I agree.
especially if you're in
I
any
agree.
sort of like 12 team start eight. The only scenario where I'm going Bowers here is if you're in like an 8 or a 10 team league and it starts 7, where
Yeah.
depth just doesn't matter at all. Another super chat here from JM. I appreciate you, man. From Canada. Eh? Thanks for the donation.
Canada.
He says 12 man PPR starters. Showing us the lineup. Love it, love it, love it. He says two flexes between Tolbert, Thielen, Downs, Javante, Pearsall, and Cup on IR. So essentially, he's asking us to flex two of those names between Tolbert, Thielen, Downs, and Javante. Um,
Oh gosh.
I
Um.
would start by saying Javante's probably got to be in there. It's it's not good, but he had 15 touches last week. Um, the matchup is a little difficult, but he was kind of like there was concern that Jaleel was about to take the job. That concern for me was completely diminished in week 2. They at least like the way I viewed it was
I
they were
mean, like
very intentional about making him the guy. So
yeah.
I'll start him,
So,
and then I will throw Tolbert out there, knowing that that range of
yeah.
outcome is possible.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna go. I was gonna go Tolbert for sure. I mean, he saw caught 6 out of 9 targets this past week, over 14 fantasy points. Looks like he wanted to get involved. And they play the Ravens this week, so it's not an easy matchup either. And I would agree. I don't think Downs is probably going to play. I think Thielen is just hard to trust right now. So Javante, I would agree with you. With so
Cool.
Tolbert and Javante Williams there, JM. We got another super chat here from Julius, which I do not see the
Yeah,
message.
Julius's question is down below. He says, "What's up, gang? What do y'all think of Chase, Purdy, and Ingram for Olave, McBride, and Anthony Richardson?" I get the Chase side.
Yeah.
Um,
Chase, Purdy, Ingram for Olave,
my
McBride,
big problem with
AR.
this trade is the McBride part of it. I would have McBride as my tight end one rest of the season.
Yeah, I don't know, and well, I don't know what the status is with Ingram. It's a hamstring injury that was hurt really, hurt really late in the week. Is he going to be ready for week
He has
3? Is this
Kyler and
going to be a
Bowers already, so I guess McBride is tradable here for sure.
so
Honestly,
you
I'm
upgrade
fine
Chase and then
because
quarterback?
I feel like you're getting Chase at the floor. I have so much confidence in Jamar Chase this week versus the Commanders. I would be shocked if he's not like a top 5 scoring wide receiver this week.
Yeah,
I would genuinely
yeah,
be shocked.
yeah. I personally would want the Chase, Purdy, Ingram side because I'm not a big Olave guy. I don't think he's going to. Not that he's not going to be part of this offense. He's not being utilized the way we liked him. We all believed he would be in this Clint Kubiak offense. Um,
It's funny because I sound like a broken record when I talk about Olave, but honestly, if you think about the game versus the Cowboys, it's crazy to say this, but again, they really didn't need to throw the ball. As crazy as that sounds, like they had no need to throw the ball throughout most of that game, and they
yeah,
completely dominated them. Alvin Kamara did his thing, but if you were to see how many times they threw the ball, you would be shocked. Badaki, without looking, I only knew this when I looked it up this morning. Do you know how many times they threw the ball on Sunday?
I have no idea. I mean, I would. My
Derek Carr.
instant number went to like 40. Like that's where my head
Okay,
went.
this is great then. Derek Carr threw the ball 16 times. I'm not joking you. Derek Carr had 16 passing attempts in that game. That means, in theory, that Chris Olave on six targets, we're talking about a 38% target share. So I do personally think there is a lot of hope for Chris Olave still. If you just look at the box score and you don't look at the context, you're like, oh, okay, 6 targets. All right, he's not the guy. Well, he out targeted Shaheed. He didn't get the long touchdown like Shaheed did, but he also had a 38% target share. I think there's definitely hope. The ball will drop. The Saints are going to have to throw the ball at some point. Do you know what I mean? Like you
Oh,
dominate Carolina, makes sense. You dominate Dallas, confusing. Now you have Philly next. Philly is going to be able to score on you. Like they got to be able to score on you. So I'm actually still very optimistic for Olave. I think he's a good trade target right now.
that's fair. That's fair. So hopefully that helps there, Julius. I think we both agreed Chase Purdy Ingram side since you have Kyler and Bowers there, but we appreciate that super chat.
Yeah.
We're going in order here of the super chats right now, and then we're going in order of the chat. He says no AJ this week, pick 2 BTJ, McConkey, Deontay Johnson. Brian Thomas Jr., if I'm not mistaken, has a tough matchup again this week as well against the Bills. But to be fair, I think their points allowed is a little bit skewed because of Tua going down this past week.
Yeah.
Um, I would still be going Brian Thomas Jr. and Lat McConkey. I need to see with Deontay Johnson first with Andy Dalton, but that's a if you like to party. The Carolina Panthers is going to be you like to party this week, probably.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. That's a rough party. I'll be honest though, like I, I'm just thinking about game script. Lad McConkey's game script this week
Against the Steelers.
against the Steelers. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just
Deontay
don't
Johnson's game
know
script
how
against the
exciting
Raiders.
that is. I think the Raiders is more enticing to me.
And then we have Brian Thomas against the Bills. That's Monday. I definitely want to start Brian
Yeah,
Thomas.
I'm gonna go Brian, but I think I lean Deontay. Just thinking game script wise. Again, this team is bottom 4 in passing attempts per game. Their defense is playing well. They're running the ball more than almost anyone. I get too concerned about that. I guess I'll just ride the wave of like this new potential offense with Andy Dalton. You know.
Okay. That's fair. John Hargraves, appreciate you. He said, should I trade Najee and Isaiah Likely for Rashad White to also have Bucky Irving on my bench? I think that's a decent trade personally. I would rather have Rashad White,
Oh
even
yeah,
though I kind of made a video on him this week saying that, hey, what can you go out and trade away trade him away for? But I would take
yeah.
Rashad White in this instance personally.
That is an auto smash accept for me for the Rashad White side of that deal.
Yeah.
Definitely. Hey guys, if you're just joining us, just want to give you a heads up on what the dealio is. Do us a favor, smash that like button. We got a like goal today of 100 likes. With your help, I'm confident we can get there. We're almost halfway there already. You guys are incredible. But here's how the stream is going to work, right? We are answering questions from top to bottom. Super chats will get prioritized. Now, I have to let you I'll have to let you know right now before we continue the rest of the stream. If we see you guys spamming questions in the chat, I hate to tell you this, but we will put you in timeout simply because when we do get to the normal questions, it will be impossible to get through them if you're spamming your own question in the chat. No one's question is more valuable than the next. Super chat is available if you really, really need something answered. But we are going to go in order. We appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for spending time with us and donating to the channel. But the next super chat in order is from Daniel 007. He says,
I appreciate
boys,
you.
almost lost my entire team injured while warming up. Dude,
I mean,
I
same.
hear you, dude. I definitely hear you. It's funny. There's a league that we're in called the $10 quickie, and it's
You're
a
just
war
completely
zone for
injured.
me. It's a war zone, man. Jordan Love, Evan Ingram, Christian McCaffrey, Raheem Mostert, Cooper Cup. I mean, name a team, name a player. I probably got him on my team. So I feel you guys. It's been rough in
Yeah.
some leagues.
That is a tough one, man. Stay strong because anything can happen. And Dreezy, thank you so much for the super chat. He's super chat. Parkinson, Gasecki, or Henry for week 3 rest of season. Look, I agree with Zach about starting Mike Gesicki this week. I'm in a need of a tight end, and I put waiver wire claims for Mike Gesicki, especially going against the Washington Commanders. But Hunter Henry has been bowling out, though.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, what is he? Tight end five right now, averaging 11 fantasy points per game, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, I'm just pulling
Hmm.
up what he did this past week. 18 fantasy points this past week, caught 8 out of 12 targets. But I mean, there's night and day though, right? Like you have in
Hmm.
week one where he only got 3 targets and only scored 3 points. So it's a little bit of a risk there. But I feel like Mike
Yeah.
Gesicki is most needed personally because if T. Higgins doesn't play.
That was what I was gonna say. That's the big caveat. Like, if T Higgins is out, sure, I'll go Gasecki. But if T Higgins is going to play, I would probably lean Hunter Henry. And the only reason I say that is because the Washington Commanders, the linebacker room isn't terrible. Like, they have actually allowed the fewest points to tight ends. I actually just looked that up now. So we're both, figuring out weekly rankings pretty much every stream, and with new news that comes out and new research, we figure out our rankings. They're pretty much exactly how we feel towards the end of the week. But
Yeah.
right now I would lean Henry slightly over Gasecki, just seeing that.
Yeah, I would completely agree there. Thank you so much, Joe
Rest of
Castles.
season though, rest of season, let's answer that too.
Rest of the season
I
right
still
now.
think Parkinson is going to be good, by the way. I still think he will be good. I know it was weird, but
I mean, the the Cardinals are just better than what we expected. Number one,
oh yeah.
like offense and defense.
Hmm.
Number two, he only got 2 targets, which I hated, and especially in a game script where they needed to throw the ball.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit
They
concerned there.
they definitely kind of felt like they were out of it early though, which is good,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
okay, so
Um,
rest of season, let's rank these guys. I think it would be Hunter, Gasecki, Parkinson, rest of
yeah,
season.
exactly. That's where I was going.
Okay.
Um, Joe Castle, how you doing, brother? He says I have Waddle, Myers, Thomas. I'm looking to trade a 2-for-1 wide receiver for Debo or Flowers. What are your thoughts here? Um, I wonder if it's possible to just trade Waddle for Debo. Like, would you do that?
Say again, sorry.
Would
I was updating
Waddle
my rest
straight
of
up,
season.
Waddle straight up for Debo?
Oh yeah, give me Devo.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
I
definitely
know he's
do
going to be
that.
out a couple weeks, but
I would
I
do
don't
that.
even know if I can start Waddle anyway.
Exactly. So, you said I'm assuming out of those three, you're willing to look to trade for one of those wide receivers. So that's what I would do,
Yeah.
personally. And for Flowers, maybe you can do my. I don't. I personally still want Brian Thomas Jr. on my team, but Waddle and Myers, I'm willing to pivot off of. I don't know if I would do Waddle and Flowers straight up. Would you do that? I mean, I like what
Um,
Flowers did this week, but
I would be pretty confident in saying Waddle, Flowers over Waddle. Um,
rest of season,
Yeah,
I
rest
guess
of
because
season,
if
I would say that pretty confidently. Like, we got a guy who's being heavily targeted, and what we saw in the second game is what we wanted from the beginning of the season,
from the
which
beginning
is
of the
the
season,
down the field
sure.
usage. So,
That's true. That's true.
um, yeah,
Hopefully
I'll go
hopefully that helps,
Flowers for
Joe.
sure.
Yeah, hopefully that helps. I think I'm a little bit hesitant. I don't have a strong conviction on Waddle or Flowers at the moment, but maybe that's something I need to ponder throughout this week, especially with two and now being on
I
IR.
I definitely agree. Like, after week one, I was very concerned, but week two, I mean, to get 10 and a half targets per game through two, and to be used down the field in week two, and to get multiple red zone targets, end zone targets, I mean, I think Zay Flowers is definitely a solid play.
Okay. Glockula, how you doing, brother? He says wide receivers Godwin, Metcalf, running backs are Kyron, Aaron Jones. I can't decide if I want to flex Chase or Moss, or should I sit one in place for them. Well, you definitely need to start Jamar Chase, I would say. Um,
Yeah,
who
I
do,
would flex Jamar Chase. I mean, I would start Jamar Chase over Metcalf and Godwin if I had a choice this week as
that's
well.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. And then Zach Moss, Kyron Williams, or Aaron Jones. Who does Aaron Jones play? He plays the Texans.
Yeah,
Um,
tough matchup, not going to lie for him. The
it
hope
is a tough
for
matchup.
Aaron Jones is that if they are down, and they likely will be, he is the clear receiving back, targets wise. But
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I think that you still have to start Aaron Jones over Zach Moss, but Zach Moss has a phenomenal matchup this week, against the Washington Commanders. Next super chat. No idea how to say your name, but we appreciate you. He says flex Brian Thomas, Terry, or Reed, trying to trade him for JSN.
Yeah, I'd flex Brian over those names. The
I would
reality is
I
with
would as
Terry.
well.
By the way, clean pocket. Do you want to know who the most accurate passers are through 2 weeks in the NFL with a clean pocket?
I think one is Daniel Jones. Not
Number
jokes.
one is Patrick Mahomes. Number two is Jaden Daniels. So when the boy has a clean pocket, he is wheeling and dealing. And I saw some pretty encouraging signs from him on the run. He made a beautiful pass on the run to Zach Ertz, not Terry McLaurin. But the unfortunate reality at this point is that the offense is so simple, they're not really stretching the field vertically. Terry's a sit until proven otherwise at this point for me. So I would be pretty comfortable here in saying Brian Thomas over those other names. And Jaden Reed, I mean, last week I was like, don't start any Packers.
Yep.
That worked out because the only Packer you would have wanted to start was Dontavion Wicks, and nobody started him. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So hopefully Jay Love comes back soon. We need you, brother. I need you.
You know what was so annoying about the Jordan Love reports last week is they were like, yeah, he could play this week. He's questionable. There's a possibility he plays this week. And then right as the game start, a report comes out that says he might be back in 5 weeks. We're like, what the hell? How did we just...
Yeah, I know.
What?
Like,
where's the disconnect between almost playing this game and 5 weeks from now?
I'm reading what they says here. Packers head coach Matt LaFleur said ideally if the quarterback Jordan Love were to play in week 3, he would at least need to practice a little bit. So if we get a limited practice this week.
Sorry, who reported that?
That's just on Sleeper. Sleeper is like Jordan Love.
That is the most obvious thing anyone could have said ever. Yeah, this injured guy, he's going to need to practice to play. Thanks. Thanks, Sleeper. We love Sleeper. You agree, though, Brian?
Yeah, I agree. Brian Thomas.
Okay,
No
Offset Gaming. Thank you for the donation, guys. If you want to skip the queue, donations are an option here with Super Chat. Hill for JMO and Sharbs.
Letting JMO.
No, I am
Oh.
not.
No.
I am not going to let go of Tyreek Hill for Jameson Williams and Sharpen.
Yeah, absolutely not. A backup running back until when Kyron Williams comes back. No, thank you.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker, but
Kenneth Walker
names are very close. That's fair.
Yeah. Steven Youngberg, appreciate you. He says flex Harris, Reed, Terry, Coleman, or Singletary is DeMarcus Robinson start over Waddle this week. Thanks, boys. Well, I think we both just said we're not going to start Reed or Terry. Well, I guess depending on the options, really. Let's have a look here.
Yeah. Funnily enough, Harris is Najee, I assume, right? Am I
Najee
right?
Harris. Yeah, Najee Harris.
I would start DeMarcus over any of these names.
That's what I was going. Now, let me just triple check where the Chargers are in allowing points to the running back. So they're actually bottom 10. So sorry, top 10 as in they give it the least amount of points to the running back position.
Right.
So I would agree with you. DeMarcus Robinson feels like he has a higher upside. Keon Coleman barely gets a target last week. You can't trust Terry. You can't trust Reed. Singletary has a decent game this past week, but he's going against the Cleveland Browns.
Way worse. And did you see them starting to give Tyrone Tracy some of the goal line work? That's gotta be concerning.
I think they were just upset because Singletary fumbled the ball because that kind of came in the second half. No.
Yeah, but in theory, it makes sense, right? Because Devin Singletary is 203 pounds.
Sure.
Whereas Tyrone is 210, so he's a little bit of a bigger back. I don't know. It's just already like a tough start. If that's going to be a trend, you're right. It could be just because he fumbled it. All right. I don't know how many we're supposed to answer in this question, but why don't we just rank our top 3? DeMarcus Robinson would be number 1 for me. Then Waddle. Then I would probably say Singletary because you just know he's going to touch the ball.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one. I'm not necessarily sure if I want to start Singletary or Najee, though. I would probably start Singletary. They're both bad offenses.
I get that. We got another super chat here from John Hargraves. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the donation. He says, should I do the same trade with Tony Pollard to add to my previous super chat? I have Achane and Connor as my RBs. I have McBride at tight end. Okay, let's go back and look at that.
He said, should I trade Najee and Isaiah Likely for Rashad White? and now he's asking if he should
Uh,
add. Should I should I do the same trade with Tony Pollard to add to my pre?
Honestly, I think I would. Like Tony looks really good, and Tajay Spears is injured.
But I'm a little bit confused. Like, should I trade? Not like, is
I
he?
think he's asking instead of Rashad White, like, would you also do this trade for Tony Pollard?
Oh, would you also do Najee and Isaiah likely for Tony Pollard? Um, yes, I would.
I
Yes, I
would
would.
too. I mean, he looks good. He's got a great matchup versus the Packers,
And
and
they clearly
Tajay
want to
Spears is not
give him the
healthy.
ball. Yeah, I mean, 17 tokes on the ground, had 5 in the air. Quick mass was at 23 opportunities.
With the targets, yeah, 23.
So 23, 22. So I think that's pretty exciting
Okay,
there
I
for
guess the
Tony
question
Pollard.
is, do you prefer Tony or Rashad White rest of season? I think that might be his question.
I still prefer Rashad White rest of season, but
Yeah.
and I would rather have Rashad White, but Tony Pollard I would still do for this trade because I don't want Najee Harris, and our fear with Isaiah likely came true, right? I mean,
Mm.
Mark
I
Andrews out targeted him essentially, and they were in a negative game score where they needed him, and he only got 3 targets.
yeah. I think I do think Rashad White bounces back this week, but I think I've seen enough of the Titans offense to put Tony over Rashad actually. I think I'm just coming to that realization right now. I
Yeah,
think I've seen enough for Tony to be over Rashad for me.
yeah, I love the
Um,
usage. Love the usage for sure.
yeah. New drop says, should I try to sell ETN? You can try. I don't know that you're going to have much success at this point. And by the way, Tank Bigsby is out with an injury, so Travis Etienne should be a great play this week. I would be holding him right now. I'll be holding him. You need to wait for a big game before you sell him. Um, Next super chats from Alex says, in Dynasty, where I'm weak at running back, how much fab should I spend on Steele? I have Hunt 2. Fab rolls over to 300. Team with most has 210. I have 190. Yeah. So I just want everyone to be super clear right now when I say this. In Dynasty, we treat Fab very differently to we treat it in redraft. Why?
Yeah.
Because Dynasty leagues are typically very deep, deep benches. You got taxi squads as well. The waiver wire is typically completely naked, completely bare. So in a
He's naked.
Dynasty league, if there's even a chance at a relevant player on the waiver wire, you typically go pretty hard after that name. So I'm willing to spend probably 50% of my fab on him in a dynasty format just because what the hell else am I going to do with that fab? Like typically there's nothing out there anyway. I mean, you might have Tutu Atwell out there. You might have Kate Otten out there. It's just like, why not see what happens? So, yeah.
Look, um, yeah, why not? I agree. Why not? One thing I would say, like, if you want to spend fab, I think it would be more of like a I'm picking him up to then sell if I possibly can. If you could pick up Carson Steele and sell him, not saying you can, but
I was going to say,
let's
I
say
don't know if
somebody's
anyone would be
desperate.
interested.
As I'm saying, let's say someone's really desperate and they feel really confident about their team and they want to give you a third. I doubt that's possible, but let's just say somebody in your league can. That's the only way I would do that. If you know somebody's really trying to get Carson Steele, but that's a lot of and if or buts. You're
Yeah.
taking a lot of risk there.
I'd say spend at least 50%, if not more, whatever it takes to get him. Because honestly, what are you going to use your fab on? Honestly,
Yeah.
and I didn't think that was possible what you just said, but Styles said he got a third for Steel and Dynasty, so
I
apparently it is
mean,
possible.
there you go. And that's what I'll be happy to do. Like,
But
Steele was
I
undrafted,
would give
wasn't
half
he?
of my fab for a third round pick for sure.
Yeah, sure. There you go. And third round picks were actually valuable this year. I mean, Marshawn
Mm-hmm.
Lloyd, Jalen Wright, Javon Baker. We saw some tight ends go in the third round. So
Jalen
like
McMillan, talk
Jalen
my boy
McMillan.
up.
I mean, anything can happen in the third round. We just don't know what that looks like. So,
Yeah.
anyways, Carlos, appreciate you. Says Kyron in a second for Neighbors is a smash, right? Yes, I'm taking Malik Neighbors every single day.
Oh yeah, neighbors in a heartbeat. In fact, updated my dynasty rankings, yesterday, like I said on the website. I
Come
have
on, talk them up.
neighbors over Garrett Wilson. I have neighbors over Puka Nakua.
Woo, woo. Keep it
Um,
going. We're getting
Neighbors and
Archie Manning in
Marvin are both
2026.
top 6 names.
Archie's coming home. Come on, baby. We're tanking for another year technically.
Holy
This
shit!
one year, and then 20 and
Imagine,
25.
imagine being a fan of a franchise and you're thinking about the year 2026.
I'm ready. I'm ready,
This boy
boys.
is locked in hell right now.
I mean, you
Giants
just
fans are like 2026. Wait, it's
you
only 2
should.
years away.
The only reason why I say that is because literally all the Giants threads, all the people on Twitter, it was like this is the perfect opportunity to just tank because Archie went off in week 2 in college football or week 3, excuse me, if I'm not
That's so
mistaken.
silly.
And everyone in the Giants thread is like,
Yeah.
guys, we just need to wait until 26 and we'll get Manning back, please. It's hilarious.
It's
Anyways,
hilarious because there's so many variables in that. And I love Arch Manning, but we got to keep in mind he played, what was it, UTSA? Okay.
mm-hmm.
Come on.
My
Anyway,
guy
that's
was looking
hilarious.
like Lamar Jackson out there.
The boy's got some wheels, I'll tell you that. By the way, random tangent. I don't know who we need to talk to about the double headers on Monday Night Football. Does anybody want this? Like, nobody wants a double header on a Monday Night Football. None of us have ever requested for that to happen. Please stop.
The reason why that sucks for us is because that just prolongs our day longer
Yes, we have
for
to make
work.
content, and it makes it so much more difficult. Anyway,
Anyways.
yeah, take neighbors in a heartbeat. Eddie J, thanks for the donation, man. He says need wide receiver. Pick up Jennings, QJ, Naylor, or Pierce. Let's answer the first question. This would be QJ for me.
Yep.
Jennings is a very short-term option, and you don't even know if you can play him even then, but he's a short-term option. Naylor, the same thing. And then Alec Pierce, I'm sorry, but I said this many times in our waiver video. I should be in. I just still don't believe in Pierce. I just still don't believe it, especially with Josh Downs coming back.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would say this for Alec Pierce. I hate the offense. I think Anthony Richardson's terrible as a passing quarterback. Let me just keep that in that bubble. As a passing quarterback, I don't believe in him. But if he goes another week and has over 15 fantasy points and a touchdown,
I get it.
I think we have to we just have to pick him up, I think.
To me, like the two guys that are living in my head rent free right now is Rashid Shaheed and Alec Pierce. Those are the two names that are living in my head rent free where I'm like the ball it has to stop at some point. They can't keep getting away with this.
Yeah.
But the next question is also got offered Rashid for Waddle. And he says, dude, has JMO. Yeah, if you can get JMO, I would prefer JMO over Rashid and Waddle. But how about rest of season, Rashid Shaheed or Jalen Waddle? I think I still go Waddle, knowing Tua could be back at some point.
Yeah, I still go Jalen Waddle. And look, Waddle's not going to have amazing games, but like if that floor is actually true with 10 points, he becomes a flex option, which once again, it's not exciting. But now they have Tyler Huntley.
Yeah.
Is he going to be the starting? I think it also depends like who's the starting quarterback. I feel a little bit more confident with Tyler than Skylar Thompson, personally. And it's not by a lot. Like I'm not saying, oh my gosh, Waddle's a must start every week, but it's like, okay, there's new life, there's new blood in that quarterback room that gives me like, I just want to see what happens.
Yeah. Thanks for the super chat, Eddie. We got another one from Alec. Appreciate you, Alec. He says, got offered Chase for Rice and I took it. 12 man, 3 wide receivers, 1 flex. Oh, wait. So you took the Chase side? Okay, right. I loved Rashee Rice, but this is definitely the time to buy Jamar Chase. He's about to play the Commanders. I mean, there's literally no one on my secondary that can hang with him. So he said, did I assemble the Avengers? It's a good team.
Mahomes, James Cook, K9, Chase, Wilson, Marv, Ayuk, Goddard.
That's an incredible team. I mean, you could definitely improve at tight end, but you got a couple weeks with A.J. Brown out where Goddard would be a fine start.
Yeah. Bay Diamond said drop Tank or Corm to pick up Braylon Allen handcuff. I'm still keeping Tank. Blake Corm. Blake Corm is difficult now for me because I see a lot of the way I see this offense now operating is that there's no threats on the outside anymore. There's no Puka
Yeah,
Nakua and Cooper
it's
Cup,
going to
and
be
I
a lot
think
of stacked boxes for
a lot
sure.
of stacked boxes for Kyron Williams for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Because both of those guys can mix 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm not saying Blake Coleman is going to be bad, but like I think they're just going to play bully ball in the trenches, which is not going to really.
Yeah.
I'm not going to want him on my team.
I
So
definitely I definitely get where you're coming from. I would still stash Blake personally. I'd rather drop Tank myself. Um, the reason I say that is because Tank is already dealing with an injury. So, like in reality, think about it. You stashed him because he had a good week one, and you were like, let's see what he can do. And now he probably doesn't play in week three. How you want those guys off the waivers that you're stashing to like you want to find out if they're valuable. You want to find out. So I think you'll find out
that's
quicker
true.
with Braylon Allen. So I would take Braylon Allen personally over Tank.
Yeah, no. I at first I thought he was talking about Tank Dell, and
Oh,
that's where my mind went, and I was like, I'm keeping Tank Dell. But if you
right.
talk about Tank Bigsby, I want Braylon Allen over Tank Bigsby after what he just did. So yes,
Yeah.
I would agree with what you're
Um,
saying. But that's where I was talking about before.
that makes sense. We got another super chat from Kyle. This is his first super chat. I appreciate you big time, my
Thank you,
man.
man.
Thanks for donating, supporting the channel. He says running back trade target for which asset? Two running backs, two wide receivers, a flex. Najee, Mostert, Braylon, Brown, Tajay. Oh no, Kyle, you basically in your draft you went late running back and you tried all these zero RB options and you hit on none of them, unfortunately. As,
Absolutely
as
nothing,
we're
brother.
looking here. Um, yeah,
I
Tajay's being
mean,
dropped in some leagues. Mostert is on the IR. Chase Brown is being dropped in leagues. Najee can't. I mean, with Justin Fields starting, his value is very limited.
yeah. I guess
Do
the
we
only guy I can
use?
see on this
Go
team
ahead.
that I'm personally willing to trade, and you let me know, is Drake London, another guy that I just bought. I think his week was saved by that last minute touchdown. If he
Yeah.
doesn't score that touchdown, how are we talking about Drake London going into this week? I don't think there will be any positives. I think there's going to be a lot of inconsistencies. Another guy that I did bring in the Fantasyland short channel. I'm willing to trade him for anything else if I possibly can. I mean, can I
Mm,
get can I get a Chris Godwin? Can I get a Stephon Diggs? Can I get a DK Metcalf? I mean,
okay.
can I get a Zay Flowers? Like these are packages, not just one for one, but can I get packages? Can I
Okay.
get Zay Flowers plus something? Can I get Amari Cooper plus something? Can I get DK plus something? I don't know. I'm a little bit hesitant on Drake London right now.
Okay.
Not
Um,
sure, not sure how you feel about him.
I am optimistic personally, but I get the concern for sure. I don't like this Stephon Diggs move. I'll be honest with you, dude.
That's fine.
I think that would be a pretty rough move. I mean, I like Diggs, but clearly his upside is going to be limited with the role he's given right now. Um,
Yeah,
look, I think there's reason for optimism. What I'm really concerned about is just what they want to do,
they don't know what they
which
want to do.
is, oh, I feel like they do, which is frustrating. I think they want to run the
Okay.
ball as much as they possibly can, set up the play action, which is great. But it
Right.
means
Okay.
less consistent targets for a guy like London, for a guy like Pitts. I mean, Kyle Pitts owners, be honest. How do you feel? Uh, where I have stock in him in Dynasty, I don't feel good about it. Um, I think Bijan Robinson is the entire focal point of this offense, which is why earlier I said, look, I actually really love Bijan still. Average over 16 points per game, hasn't scored a touchdown yet. That's wild to me.
Yep.
So I'm hopeful still, but Kansas City's not an easy matchup. Then New Orleans with Marshawn or Marcus Lattimore. I forget how to say his name. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely willing to sell him.
I guess
Can
for
we
the right name,
package
for sure.
London and Najee? Well, Najee's your only startable name here. So let's make it
I think it just needs to be like a
London
two for
and
one or
Braylon.
something. Yeah.
Let's make it London and Braylon. And I'm wondering if we can go out and get a Ken Walker, who's currently injured. Can we get a Josh Jacobs, who's playing in a bad offense right now? Can we get a Jonathan Taylor, who's, offense is not doing well right now? Can we get a Joe Mixon, who's currently dealing with an injury? Those are the kind of
Yep.
moves I would try and make.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. Hopefully that helps, Kyle. I personally wouldn't trade CD, Neighbors, or Nico. Everyone else, I think, could potentially be on the trade block, or maybe that you can package in any way, sort of form. But those three players,
Yeah.
I'm not willing to trade whatsoever. Um,
Jake
our
with
next,
a donation here.
yeah,
He says thoughts on Casey's running backs now with Hunt. Do you think he has any start value, or should I trade him to the Pacheco owner in Dynasty? In a heartbeat, dude, take Jordan Whittington. I
yep,
promise you. Like,
I agree.
here is the range of outcome for Kareem Hunt in Dynasty. He's a player that stays on your bench most likely, and you drop him whenever Isaiah Pacheco is back. That is like the most likely range of outcomes.
That's exactly what.
For Jordan Whittington, we have no idea. He's a late round pick. McVay loves late round picks, turning them into superstars. Puka is out for a while. Cup is out for a while. Whittington is like this fun young player, whereas I don't even Kareem Hunt's. You just add him to your bench and see what happens. But I mean, the last time we saw Kareem Hunt play football, he was one of the least efficient running backs in the entire NFL.
Yeah, I completely agree. Guys, we're going through the super chats right now, but if you guys want to, I guess, prioritize your questions, all you have to do is drop a super chat. If not, we're gonna go in order of the super chats, and once those are done, we're going in order of the actual chat. And the next guy that I can see here is Giorgio.
Hi,
10
Georgie.
man. Hi, Georgie. 10-man PPR 2 flex. Lamar, Etienne, Bijan, Lamb, Olave, Flowers, Neighbors. You have your bench here. He says Flowers or JSN and Neighbors. Let's just start there. Flowers or JSN.
Oh, that's a tough one, I think, actually.
That is a very tough one. If I'm just looking based off matchup this week, Flowers playing the Dallas Cowboys, JSN playing the Miami Dolphins. I personally feel like this game script for the Seahawks, they should be up, which
Well,
makes me
Vegas
lean.
says that based off the spread. They're heavy favorites, the Seahawks are.
Yes, which means that either they're gonna run the ball or just have a massive blowout game where he's not going to be needed. Maybe Jason does catch the touchdown, right? But is he going to be getting more points after that touchdown? Kind of like the Marvin Harrison Jr. type
Sure.
of effect. Like they were up so early that
Yeah.
Marvin didn't have to do anything. Where Flowers
Yeah.
playing the Cowboys, I feel like he's going to be a little bit more needed. This week I'm going Flowers, but Jay, it's a tough one.
Yeah, no, I agree just because I'm thinking game script as well, where the Cowboys should bounce back at some point, right? I mean, this was the best offense in the NFL last year on a points per game basis. I feel like they're going to figure it out. But I I really would love to sit down with Jerry Jones for just a minute. And all I want to ask him is, why did you not prioritize running back this offseason in any way, shape, or form? At all. You are so clearly lacking any dynamic ability in your backfield. No team is worried about your rushing attack.
Look,
What? How can you say you're all in and do literally nothing? Have the worst running back room in the NFL.
we could be laughing, and he has the best running back in 25 class, and it's like, is it? Well, who's the best running back right now in the running back class? Just name
Ashton
him.
Genty.
Okay, him or Jonathan Brooks.
Well, definitely
He's not
Ashton
even-
Genty. But
That's what I'm saying.
that's not what I'm trying to say though. I'm not
I know,
saying
but
that he had to spend a high draft pick on him. You could have got Braylon Allen late in the NFL draft. You could have got Ray Davis late in the NFL draft. You could have traded a 7th round pick for Khalil Herbert, or there's so many players so many things you could have done. Anyway, did we answer this question?
So it's Flowers over JSN for both of us, and then he has Neighbors for Rice or Hill.
I want Rashee Rice rest of season.
Yeah, I want Rice rest of season as well. How do you order that? For me, it's Rice, Hill, and Neighbors still, but that's really tough, and it's not by much.
Yeah. No, I think I agree.
Like Hill and Neighbors are not by much whatsoever. But if you're telling me Daniel Jones can get the ball to Neighbors every week like that, and if they still lose, sure, maybe give me Malik Neighbors. But it was only 1 week, and I'm a Giants fan, and that was against the worst secondary in the NFL.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helps. Jose, how you doing,
Jose
brother?
Cuervo.
Jose Cuervo. Hey, shout out to Jose Cuervo, man. We had that. We had Jose Cuervo with margaritas at my wedding. That shit was fire. Zach was already lit by like. Zach was gone.
That was a rough night for me. I had way too many of those margaritas.
He said, had Tua cut Pacheco go down for me, who I put on waiver. For me, who should I put a waiver in for? Shaheed, Steele, Jennings, or Foreman. Still have Purdy, CD, Brian Thomas, James Cook, and Walker. I'm cooked for the season. I'm 0-2. You're not cooked for the season?
Oh, you're not.
Um,
No, it's rough. I'll give you that, but you're not cooked. Um, Shaheed, Steele, Jennings, Foreman. To me, this is Shaheed, Steele, Foreman, Jennings in that order.
I would switch Jennings and Foreman. I would want Shaheed over Steele. I feel like Shaheed could
Oh,
have
I
the
just said
long.
that too.
You said I would rather have Jennings over Foreman. You said Foreman over
Oh,
Jennings.
okay. Sorry, I thought you were saying.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
No, no, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I would like Shaheed here as well, just because if once again if he goes into week 3 and has the exact same stat line, even if it's 4 targets, I guess we have to take it seriously.
Well, and
And
I also feel like Shaheed can be a trade piece now.
sure, sure,
If you want
and
to make trades.
and I think ultimately Steele is just going to be someone that fades off in the second half. Like you're not going to be starting Steele. At least my expectation is
Okay.
that you're probably not going to be starting Steele in the playoffs. Where if Shaheed does continue this role, maybe he's somebody worth starting. But
Yeah.
once again, these are big ifs.
Totally. I definitely hear you. Yeah. Look, it's not over for you. Shaheed, Steele, Jennings, or Foreman, Jennings for me, just because I think Jennings is a rental. Foreman has a real role.
Yeah.
And Badaki would swap Foreman and Jennings. All right, next super chat here is from Daniel. Thanks for the donation, man. He says, team in shambles due to injuries. Things to make a trader. I give up Derrick Henry and Worthy and Amari Cooper. I get Najee, Olave, Godwin.
I don't want Najee or Olave. I love Godwin. I feel like the best player in this deal is probably Godwin. I just think you still have more upside in the Derrick Henry, Xavier Worthy, Amari Cooper trade.
I need to know what your depth at running back is if you're giving up Derrick Henry and getting Najee.
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. Worthy, we kind of saw, obviously take that step back. He did gain more targets. He gained one more
By one.
target. And Amari Cooper, oh my gosh. If there's and I watched I think one of your videos and you had Amari Cooper. I think you spoke about him, or it was actually time to panic. You kind of spoke up Amari
Mm-hmm.
Cooper. It's like he has the Giants, then Vegas, then Washington, then Philly. The upcoming schedule is
Yeah.
intriguing, but what happens if the Giants shut him down? Not saying to you, just in general. If the Giants shut him down, it's like, okay, Amari Cooper's kind of the offense is just bad. um,
Yeah. Um,
but it's tough.
um, yeah. I need to know the depth of your running back room to answer this question well. But without knowing that, I am big on buying Olave right now. Like I said, 38% target share. And they only threw the ball 16 times in week 2. And Godwin, one of my bounce back candidates, is crushing it right now.
Yeah, he
Uh,
says I have 3 injuries recovering Cooper, AJ Brown. Cooper sucks. I have Henry and Rashad White. Henry is my only valuable trade.
well,
Henry
that's
is
an
my only
issue because
value.
you're telling me that you're going to have to start Najee Harris if you do this deal. That is not a good situation to be in.
Yeah, and it sucks that you stuck with injuries because you have Cooper Cup and AJ Brown. Cooper Cup out 4 to 6 weeks. AJ Brown maybe just 1 week, and you can come back in week 4. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I'm
don't
not
want
in
to
love with
rely
this
on
trade.
Najee. If you can make Najee someone else, I'm definitely interested. Or even if you can do like Xavier Worthy for Olave and just start there. A lot of people are
Yeah,
really concerned about Olave, but I think there's a lot of context there.
I think for me, it's like I definitely want Chris Olave. I think the best player in this trade is Chris
You mean
Olave.
Godwin?
Chris Godwin. I think that's an absolute
Yeah.
win. Like I want him.
Can't believe
Um,
I got him in the 7th round of the flock league.
can't believe it. Can't believe it, man. I think that's also like uh it sucks for like I mean, Rashad White has six opportunities last week, in the air. I was like, I think we're gonna see a lot of more inconsistent games from Rashad White. now that Chris Godwin is actually being worked into the offense, unlike last year. I
Yeah,
felt like it was
yeah,
very inconsistent with Chris Godwin. Um, very inconsistent with Chris Godwin. It was very consistent with Rashad White last year, to where now maybe those roles kind of flip in the fantasy points perspective. Like
yeah.
more inconsistencies with White and more
Well,
consistency with Godwin.
this is what happens
Anyways,
when you play Chris Godwin in the position he's supposed to play in. Shout out to
put
Dave
him in the slot.
Canales. We have Julio
Um,
here who says keep Kelsey or waiver wire Hunter Henry. I'd keep Kelsey personally. I
yeah,
definitely get the question though. It's been awful. I mean,
yeah, it's
Kelsey's
frustrating.
just he's not a focal point of the offense. He's just not.
Taylor Swift, I blame her.
Honestly though, I
Um,
would if Hunter Henry's out there, drop someone else to pick up Hunter Henry on your bench. You know.
yeah.
Um
Um,
new drop.
New drop. It says I have Godwin and Devonta Smith, my wide receiver 1 and 2. Should I look for flex Jacobs or Jameson
Jamison
Williams?
Williams.
It's Jameson Williams, yeah.
Oh, no. I was just reading it.
I like Jameson Williams though this week. Do you know?
Yeah.
Against the Cardinals.
No, I like him too, but I think I gotta think about it. Um I mean Jacobs touched the ball 32 times last week.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And he only scored 13 points, where Jameson Williams had 11 targets and scored 14 points. Again, look, I think it's kind of a wash, but I think the higher upside is Jameson Williams, where they're going against the Tennessee Titans this week. Um,
Titans are top 10 in points allowed to running backs. I love
yeah,
Jameson Williams, but this is a safety or party question. If you like to party, it's JMO. If you want to play it safe, I think it's Jacobs. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, if he can touch the
It
ball
was
30 times, I don't know how I sit him.
yeah, and same with Jameson. Like Jameson's going against the Cardinals, who also gave up the 10 most points to the wide receiver position. So pick your poison. You
Yeah.
know, pick your
Yeah.
poison there.
Tough one.
Um,
All right. Next question is from Jose Macias. Appreciate the donation, man. He says, also have Pitts, Terry, Bucky, Javante, and Thielen. This must have been a previous
yeah.
question then.
He says,
Oh,
no,
right,
what
right.
was the question?
Should I put a waiver in for Shaheed, Steele, Jennings, or Foreman? Right.
Right.
Um, okay, right. So also have Pitts, Terry, Bucky. Yeah. Um, Kyle Pitts is looking rough right now, man. It's not looking good. The offense is not real. Like Atlanta's offense is not fun to watch. I feel like we were promised an exciting offense. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel exciting. It's boring. It's really slow and lethargic. Yeah.
I look, it looked better than week 1. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. What's weird is
Um,
the Eagles are a great rush defense. At least they have been. And they
dude,
just attack them all night
when
on
I
the ground.
when I was seeing that, I was like, is Bijan this good, or is the offensive line just bullying the Eagles' defensive
Their
line?
offensive line is pretty damn good in Atlanta.
Yeah, it is pretty damn good after that. I was like, holy shit. Um,
Yeah. That's the right response, honestly.
yeah,
We appreciate you, man. Look, with Terry, I think he's a hold right now. I'd be willing to look at selling Javante if there's an option out there for you.
yeah.
Joshua Clement, thanks for the donation, man. Very kind to you. He says, should I trade Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith, J.K. Dobbins, and Laporta for A.J. Brown, James Cook, and Ayuk?
Should I
I'd be
trade Tyreek?
I'd be pretty comfortable to take the A.J. Brown, James Cook, and Ayuk side of that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree. Give me that. I love James
Love
Cook,
Tyreek
Ayuk,
still rest of season.
AJ Brown.
I think this is a good idea to sell high on Dobbins personally.
Yeah, I would even say Devonta Smith, even though he had a good week in week 1, but like, can I pivot even higher off from where Devonta Smith is currently at? Right, like people probably
Well,
panicking on AJ Brown. Like, can I go out like you kind of like you're doing Devonta Smith essentially for Ayuk? I think that's a great pivot up.
no,
You
I
know,
agree with you. I was just gonna say he's going to have a good game again this week without AJ, but it
I
is
completely
he'll
agree.
he'll be
You know,
back
like,
to the number two soon.
can you? I mean, I don't know if you can. Can you do Devonta Smith for Rice? Can you do Devonta Smith for a Garrett? Once again, maybe
I
somebody
don't
out
think
there
you
is
could.
panicking on Garrett Wilson. Yes, I
Maybe.
don't think you could, but maybe there's somebody out there that could.
But let's
Um,
just say yes, we would accept a trade for sure.
yeah. Seven leaves design. He says, who can I target for
Oh,
Shahid,
that's a good
hold, or
question.
sell?
Okay, first off, thank you for your first donation. That's very, very kind of you, man. So here's the deal. In leagues where people have been playing fantasy for a while, they're going to be skeptical of Rashid Shaheed. Why? Because we've seen this. We have seen him be a boom bust player, and he's only getting 4.5 targets a game. He's the wide receiver 9, though. So in leagues where you're like on ESPN, NFL.com, Yahoo, or like even Sleeper, and it's a new player, and they look at Rashid Shaheed and they see wide receiver 9 on the season, that is your target audience. And I do think you can trade Rashid Shaheed for some pretty interesting names. For example, can you trade Rashid Shaheed for Tank Dell? I'd still rather have Tank Dell rest of season, as crazy as that might sound to some people. Can you trade him for
Mhm.
Brian Thomas? Can you trade him for T. Higgins?
Yeah, that's where I was going. T.
Can
Higgins.
you trade him for, I guess, Jaden Reed, but you might be able to get more right now?
So that's what I'm gonna
Um,
say. Maybe Jaden Reed, Jamison Williams.
I was gonna say
Um,
JMO, but I feel like people love him. I
what
don't think
about
you're gonna be able to get JMO.
how do you feel about Calvin Ridley?
It's so funny because obviously, you, you probably didn't watch the stream yesterday, but I was like, look, guys, I was definitely wrong on Calvin Ridley. He did great this week because I made that bus video. The
Yeah,
amount of people who are commenting on that video who are like, I sat Ridley because of you, and you
they should have
suck.
listened to me. Not jokes.
Which is funny, just because I'm like, do people watch us and they take what we say as like Bible and they don't make their
Yeah,
own conclusions at all? I hope when
yeah,
you
yeah,
guys watch us, you hear our opinions, you hear our rationale, and then you put your big boy pants on and make your own decision. But a lot
yeah,
of people
yeah.
apparently don't do that.
I
Look,
think
I was totally wrong on Ridley last week. I
yeah.
asked the chat yesterday though, does anyone feel better about Calvin Ridley today more than they did last week? I do not. I do not feel any better about Calvin Ridley. The way he scored, I don't see how that's replicable. I mean, he was double covered for that deep touchdown. No one thought he caught it. The defensive backs gave up. They were like, no one's going to catch that
Hmm.
pass. He
Hmm.
makes the catch. How many times is he going to get end around jet sweep touchdown as well, by the way? So, look, I still don't feel good about Calvin Ridley. I would absolutely be selling him high. Do
Hmm.
you disagree with me? I mean, watching that game, I
I
just
mean,
don't know
look,
how you feel good about Calvin Ridley.
I can tell them high. I think my argument for Calvin Ridley to start last week was just purely based on game script and how the Titans. I mean, even though the game script was technically wrong, but like they needed to throw the ball, and they're probably were going to be down against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, where in reality it was kind of like a dogfight. They were going back
Yeah,
and forth, right?
I
So
feel like there's a bit of luck to it personally, but of course I'm
sure,
biased because of my
yeah,
stance last week, and I was wrong. But I honestly think there was a bit of luck with it. But
and
anyway, let's
and
talk about Shaheed.
yeah, Shahid. I mean, those are some names that I would say, and I think a lot of people do this in our home league as well. I think the best way to try and trade somebody away, in my opinion, because like once again, I'm only references from our home league. If I'm trying to do a trade, I already know where that person's going to look, and they instantly go to Fantasy Pros rest of season rankings.
That's true,
Um,
actually. Everyone
and
uses their trade calculator
everyone,
too. It's so
yeah,
bad.
and uses a trade calculator. See what those names are next to them. So, for example, I'm looking at Fantasy Pros right now,
Okay, that's a great
and
idea.
Rashid Shaheed. You can the five names ahead of Rashid Shaheed: Deontay Johnson, Keaton Allen, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr. Then you can go to T. Higgins. So T. Higgins, I feel like actually might be a little bit hard to get, but if somebody out there does believe in Rashid Shaheed,
Are you looking at standard or PPR?
I'm looking at PPR.
Okay, sorry. I want to catch up with where you are and show people.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's fine.
So you said 42?
He is, yes, 42.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So I'm just saying, like, once again, I'm only giving you this advice because I know in our home leagues people use Fantasy Pros rest of
Oh
season
yeah,
rankings.
that
Um,
calculator is like the Bible for people.
yeah, so I mean this is the range that you should be doing, and if a lot of people, not only for Rashid Shaheed, but for other people out there as well, I would be interested in doing this. Like, would you want Christian Watson over Rashid Shaheed,
Dude,
knowing that Jordan Love is going to come back?
this is where you and I have disagreed most of the
I,
season. I actually
I'm
would
just
want
asking.
Shaheed. Yeah.
I'm just asking. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like, what about Jordan Addison? Jordan
Yeah.
Addison is lower than Rashid Shaheed currently. He's wide
If
receiver
I knew
51.
Addison played this week, I would accept that trade, but I just don't know that.
Okay.
What was interesting to me is the Roma Dunze one. I'd rather have Roma Dunze, seeing his role potentially grow over the season.
Yep.
You're also in this range of Keenan Allen. I'd rather have Keenan, Brian Thomas, Higgins, Worthy. Wow, they have Puka at 34.
Yeah.
That seems
They do.
wildly low to me. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah. So I mean, look, once again, that's probably a really good way to kind of get trades done in your league if they do utilize fancy pros like this as the Bible. But those are some names I would definitely be doing. But if you can get more, if there's somebody out there that's like, dude, I love Shaheed. I'm a Saints fan. See if you can shoot for the stars.
All right.
Hopefully
Next
that
question
helps.
is from Munch. Thanks for the donation. Munch says 10-man full PPR Dynasty League. Pick 2 to flex. Adunze, Swift, Braylon Allen, QJ, Reed, Wandale, Gabe Davis. Okay. So let's start
Picks
with wide
two to
receiver here.
flex.
If Keenan is out, we'll definitely go Adunze here. And I think I'm going to Adunze and Swift regardless. Swift has been awful. Not a player we wanted. Not a player we were targeting. But he's going to get a lot of opportunities, I think. So for me, this would be Adunze and Swift if Keenan's out. If Keenan's playing, I'll go QJ and Swift.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna lean over Swift regardless. I think I want to go Rome and Swift. Or sorry,
Okay.
Rome and QJ. Um
Okay, yeah. Sure.
14 opportunities this past week on the ground for Swift.
It was awful.
Yeah, and he only got 8 points. I mean, I'd rather just take the
He looked terrible too.
if Quentin Johnson is only going to get 6 targets, but he's going to be scoring a touchdown every week or however many points he can get, I'm going to just
Here's the
ride
big
with.
concern with Swift as well, by the way. Like, if you can't establish the run for a rookie quarterback, there will be no point where
I
he's going to
just
be able
don't
to
feel like
succeed.
they're
So,
trying to establish the run. Like,
what I was going to say is, like, Herbert is the better rusher. Rashawn Johnson is probably a better rusher if you're getting a bruiser in there. So,
yeah,
you're
I
getting a
also
call
think
and we can hear it, by the way.
I am so sorry.
No, that's okay.
Um,
Hello.
um,
This
it says
is
no call
Pizza.
ID, so it says no call
Uh,
ID. So you can leave a
and then
message if it's important.
he also says trade Carr and Kyron for Kyler and Puka.
Derek
Give me
Carr and
Kyler and
Kyron,
Puka.
Kyler and Puka. Give me Kyler and Puka every single
Assuming that's
day.
still a dynasty league, yeah.
Yeah, it's two quarterbacks, so you definitely want Kyler there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that super chat, guys. We are going in order of the super chats currently. If you guys want to drop one and get your
I have to
questions
pee. I'll be
answered,
right back.
all you have to do is drop a super chat. If not, our next one is A team, PPR, Allen, JT, Kenneth Walker, Mason, Ford, Warren, JJ Smith. What's the question here? Trade targets. Anywhere I can improve wide receiver running back. Okay, A team. It's an 18 PPR league. Brother, I'll tell you right off the bat, 8 teams are normally really stacked. Quarterback is stacked than Josh Allen. You have Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, Mason, Ford, Warren. Okay, that's probably an area you could potentially upgrade. You have Justin Jefferson, Devonta Smith, Waddle, London, Higgins, Brian Thomas, and then you have Laporta and Goddard. I would say the place that you could upgrade is probably maybe moving on from Waddle or London. I'm really trying to pivot in an 8-man league. I'm trying to get these upper echelons, like foundational pieces. Can I go out and get a Nico Collins? Can I go out and get a Jamar Chase? Can you package London and Higgins? Depending on how many starters you do have, maybe this is a start 8, an 8-man start 8 league. Can you package Waddle and London to go out and get a Chase, to go out and get an Amon Ra? That's the type of things that I'm looking to do here at the wide receiver position. At the running back position, the exact same. Can I package Mason and Ford and go out and get a Bijan Robinson? Can I go out and get a Saquon Barkley? Can I go out and get a Jahmyr Gibbs? We're just trying to get the upper echelons type of players here
Hey,
for this team.
I love it. Was there anything else you want to say on that one before we move on?
No.
I was just gonna quickly say, guys. I often like to include like the community in videos that we make. I'm going to be making a stash video that will release tomorrow. If you would like to, let's say you got a stash in mind. Keep in mind, guys, a stash needs to be available, and they need to be rostered in like less than 40% of leagues. You can't send a stash that's like 60% rostered, but. I'll put a link in the chat, guys. If you want to be a part of the stash video, I'll spam that. Send some replies there. I've got about 10 names in mind, but if there's any great ideas from the community, I'd love to include you guys as well. All right, what's the next one here?
Yeah, Slick Willie says I have Mahomes, HN, Mason, London, Nico, Brock, and Worthy. What do you think? Is there a room for improvement? This is a great room. My room for improvement would personally be Drake London. I think we both kind of see a little bit different on both of those. So I'm willing to trade Drake London to see if I can pivot off him and get, once again, the likes of which depending on how you, if you can get him, can you get a Brandon Ayuk? Can you get a Marlon Harrison, Rashid Shaheed, whatever that look like? I'm trying to upgrade and
Hold
pivot
on,
off of
Rashid
Drake
Shaheed
London.
over London.
Sorry, Rashid Rice. Sorry.
Okay, let's be clear
um,
there. Yeah, no, I feel a little optimistic for London. I mean, surely you have to look at what happened at the end of the game and say, hey, we should get that guy the ball more. Maybe we should target Drake London more. Surely, surely. But this is a
surely,
very
please.
this is a
It's a
great
great
team.
team. It
Honestly,
is.
like across the board, you've got an incredible tight end, really good running back room, solid wide receivers. You're killing it, man. Absolutely killing it. Well done. The next super chat we have here is from Emmanuel. God with us.
Come on.
Emmanuel.
With
This
us.
is his first super chat. I appreciate the donation.
Appreciate you.
He says, I have Jefferson, Lamb as my wide receivers. Who should I put in the flex? I have Dell, Shaheed, Monty, or Shakir. For me, this is going to be
For
David
Monty.
Montgomery.
Yeah, Monty. Come on, baby. Give it to Monty Mooney.
Hey,
Um,
the Lions
hey,
backfield has two running backs who are top 12 in fantasy so far.
that's
How
hot.
about
That's
that?
hot. And David Montgomery, man. Come on, baby. Only 35% of the snap share and still scored 17 points.
Yeah, that's negative game
Just,
script, but at least he was involved in the air.
yeah, 4 targets. Go 4 out of 4, baby. Come on. Talk it up.
Bro, if you could promise me 4 targets rest of the season every game for David Montgomery, I'd rank him as like a top 8 name. But the reality is most games he'll have like 1 or 0
He
targets.
hasn't he hasn't hit over 50% of the snap share this week. And he, like you said, what, top 12? Both of them are top 12?
Both of them are top 12. I actually misspoke. David Montgomery's 13th, but eat me. All right.
Eat me.
Eat me.
Who's
I'm a
next?
muffin man. Jay Fiasco, who
Jay
just sounds like a
Fiasco.
DJ, by the way. It sounds like a
Lupe
DJ or
Fiasco. That's a
yeah.
Lupe Fiasco. Miss you.
Half PBR.
Um,
Give up JK and Waddle for Monty and Godwin. Monty and Godwin by a mile,
yeah,
by a country mile, by
immediately.
a billion points.
Come on. I don't even know
Seta.
how to say this. Seta says I have St. Brown, Wilson, Mara, Neighbors, Keenan. Should I try and flip wide receivers for Chase or Rashid or a running back? I have Connor, Kamar, Monty, and Brian Robinson. Should I try to flip a wide receiver for Chase or Rashid? Who would you flip here? I
Neighbors.
doubt.
Neighbors would be the
Yeah.
one I'd flip just because I was super confident in starting him this week versus the Commanders, but it is not a favorable schedule upcoming. And
No.
the Commanders are not able to get pressure. They're not able to cover a soul. It's the perfect matchup. We were excited about that. Now, you have to face Cleveland. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Cleveland.
So,
Cleveland.
yeah, we would be selling him for Chase or Rice. I prefer both
Yeah,
those
Chase,
names over
Chase
any other
Rice.
receivers.
I'll rock with you there. Appreciate that super chat. Thank you so much.
Mole Rat says
Mole Rat.
he's in a lobby, 2K lobby with Debo Samuel. Tell him to
Tell-
heal his freaking, I'm just kidding. Let him enjoy his life. I'm joking. That's a
All right,
joke.
you should send the link. You should just spam the link if there's a chat with Debo and just be like,
Yeah.
spam our link to the live stream.
Yeah. Say, these
He
guys
said-
love you, Debo.
he says, would you trade Rice or Godwin for Wilson? Rice or Godwin for Wilson? I think these guys are really close in my rankings. I'm not sure how you feel. I technically do have Garrett Wilson higher than Rasheed Rice. I think the two guys that are close is Rasheed Rice and Wilson. Not sure where you have Chris Godwin. But at the moment, I still have Wilson, I have Rice, and then Godwin. So technically, I do want Garrett Wilson. But I mean, I don't know how you're
Yeah.
feeling about. I don't know how you're feeling about Garrett Wilson. But I mean, I'm not in love with it. I'm not. I'm not jumping for joy. I'm a bit
No,
disappointed and deflated.
I've got Rasheed Rice over Garrett Wilson personally. I think it
Okay.
is important to note, though, I would still put Garrett over Chris Godwin. Love Chris Godwin. Got him in the flock league. It's great. But it's important to note that last week Garrett Wilson was facing L'Jarius Sneed, so that's a tough matchup. I think he will be better. I think they will figure it out. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say I prefer, in order, Rice, Wilson, Godwin.
Nimble. He says, I have Mike Evans, Rasheed Rice, Zay Flowers, and Stephon Diggs. My running backs are perfect. Just conflicted between these four on who my two wide receivers should be. This is Mike Evans and Rasheed Rice every day.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't
And you've
overthink
got
it,
a
brother.
great team, man. Maybe you should look at consolidating that roster a bit. Package Stephon Diggs with one of your running backs an upgrade or a tight end an upgrade. We got another super chat from Kitchen Diz. Kitchen Diz. Appreciate you, man. He says, trade away Deontay Johnson and Tank Dell for Stephon Diggs. No. No,
Yeah,
I'd hope.
I'm
I
keeping.
just hold Deontay and Tank right now.
I agree.
Uh,
Ace, he said, offered Garrett Wilson for Brock Bowers, 10-team PPR keeper. I have Kelsey. My wide receivers are Lamb, Waddle, Dell, Coleman.
mm,
Take
what do
the
you
still
think?
one. I guess this a keeper. Like if you trade that, you trading that pick. Hey,
Every keeper of league is different settings. Um,
I think look right now I would still want Garrett Wilson,
yeah, same.
but like I can understand why you would want Brock
That's
Bowers,
tough. It's
especially
a really
having
tough call.
Kelsey.
I'll say this: if there's a pick attached to it, and for example, you have to keep Garrett Wilson for a first, but you can keep Brock for a seventh next year, I'll take Brock for sure in that scenario. Kekoa, appreciate the donation. The next one is from Nick. Appreciate you, Nick. Half PPR been offered two trades, either Ayuk Dobbins for Amon Ra or Brian Thomas Jr. Okay, Ayuk
You Dobbins
Dobbins
or Monroe.
for
Okay.
Amon Ra. That's the first offer. I would take Amon Ra
Yeah,
pretty
I want a
confidently.
Monroe
Brian
or
Thomas Jr.
Brian
Dobbins
Thomas.
for Mike Evans.
I would want Mike Evans.
Yeah, but I think he wants to know which one to do.
I would rather
Um,
have a Monroe over Mike Evans. So give me a Monroe.
but in the Brian
A
Thomas Jr.
Monroe
trade, you
one.
don't have to get rid of Ayuk.
Yeah. So that
I think I'd
means his wide
rather
receiver be a
rather keep
Monroe, Brian
Ayuk.
Thomas. So he has Hill, Ayuk, Brian Thomas, Cook.
It would
So
be
I
Hill,
would
Ayuk, Evans, Cook,
Evans,
or
Cook,
Hill,
Amon
Amon
Ra,
Ra, Brian
Brian
Thomas Jr. I'd
Thomas.
rather have
I'd rather
Ayuk
have
stay on the roster.
agreed. I agree. Should I take either? And then he says the running backs, should I take either or hold
Yeah.
off?
Yeah, I would take the Mike Evans one.
Yeah,
But if that guy's willing to sell Mike Evans, you
either.
might be able to counter and see if he has like a Rico Dowdle on his roster or, you know, Roma Dunze or something that, people are giving up on. But yeah, I'd take that side. Gabe,
Yeah.
thanks for the super chat, man. He says full PPR, only two running backs, two wide receivers, and a flex. Should I start Mike or DK at
Evans
wide
or
receiver
DK?
two? Would you
Oh,
start
Mike.
the receiver you did not choose over JT in the flex? Okay. What do you think? Mike
I'm
or
starting.
DK?
I'm starting Mike.
I
And would
agree.
you? And then would I start DK over JT this week?
I wouldn't,
Um,
but you probably should, but I wouldn't.
yeah.
I would not.
I
You probably should, but I would not.
The Bears defense are pretty good, even though I mean they're just middle of the pack. So like they held Joe Mixon for nothing, but to be fair, he was injured. And then in week one they played Tony Pollard, who he got like 16 or 18 points.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Mike and DK.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Mike and DK. I can't
That's
trust
fair.
Jonathan Taylor.
We got a
Even
super
yeah.
chat here. Sorry, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I hear you. Drew with the $5 thinks I appreciate you, man. He says Dynasty Daniels, Caleb, JJ Darnold. What's the question here? Get Hunt or steal? Is that the question? Okay.
Yeah.
we're going to go hard after Steele here. We talked about this a little bit earlier, Drew. You probably weren't with us in the stream just yet. But the way we approach Fab in the waiver wire in a Dynasty League is completely different to how we would approach it in a redraft league. In a redraft league, that Fab is super valuable because important names could pop up at any point. In a dynasty format, what's most likely is that you'll have deep rosters, you have a taxi squad, and your waiver wires for the most part are bare. So when you have an opportunity to pick up a guy like Steele, which is just this unknown upside type of pickup, in a dynasty, you definitely go after that name. So for me, this would be Steele. Kareem Hunt is probably not going to be on a team next year. I mean, shoot, if Pacheco comes back in 6 weeks, they'll probably cut Kareem Hunt. It's just, that's my opinion. I could be wrong, but Steele is a young player. I'd rather just see what happens with him.
Yeah, thank you so much for the super chat here, DB. He says running back Stevenson, Brian Robinson, Dobbins, wide receivers Martin Harrison, Flowers, Higgins, Jamal Jason currently lead league in points, but want to improve. Any ideas? I mean, this is a great team. Martin Harrison, Flowers, Higgins, Jamal Jason. I wonder who your quarterback is, but look, I think you can potentially upgrade at that wide receiver too. Maybe you have Flowers and Higgins. Higgins probably not playing for you, but you're just hitting on everyone right now. There's no point of selling. Maybe what you can do is sell high on Dobbins, see where you can improve there.
That's what I would do. I'd sell high on Dobbins. I'd package Dobbins, and we don't know who your tight end is, so maybe you don't have a good tight end. I'd package Dobbins to get a better tight end.
Yeah, he says Kyler and Laporta for tight end.
Okay, never mind then.
So
Package Dobbins and Stevenson. No, don't do that. Package Dobbins and Higgins and try and get Godwin, for example, or one of those names. Kumo. Shout out to Kumo. Appreciate the donation. Tyreek Ramondre or Kamara Jamo, I think, for me. Actually, I'm gonna rock Tyreek Ramondre there.
Okay, I'm gonna go Kamara Jamo. He said set Scott over JSN and Spears for Waddle. Take it. I want JSN and Spears.
Yeah, same. Knight, thanks for the donation. He says start Dowdle or go Steele, P. Ryan, Allen, Foreman, 12 team 100 Fab. And what do I spend if I hit the waivers? All right. Well, Dowdle would be the name to. I don't know, guys. Like, honestly, of all these names, I'd probably start Steele over all these names this week. Just because Dowdle's an upside play, Steele's an upside play, but there's this unknown. If there's a goal line opportunity, I think it will be Steele's. Kareem Hunt won't be involved yet. Just getting on the team. I'd spend about. Look, I would probably spend like around $25 for Steele just to see what he could be, and then I'd put a second bid in for P. Ryan at around 12. I'd put a third bid in for Allen around 12 and just see which name you get.
I agree. I'll rock with that. I'll rock with you.
I think it's really important to state that just because you're picking someone up off the waiver wire doesn't mean they're going to pan out. I mean, there's a reason all these players are not rostered, right? So with the waiver wire, you just want a ticket at what could be a fun play. It's not always going to work, but you got to buy a ticket to play the game. So I think people need to realize that. I don't think as many people understand when we try and explain that. But anyway, we appreciate y'all big time. Hey, we will go live for the next, what do you think, Badaki? 10 minutes?
Yeah, let's do 40 past the hour.
40 minutes past the hour, then we're going to end the stream. I got to make a stash video for you guys. We will answer questions from top to bottom in order. Super chats will skip the queue, but the first question I can see that YouTube will let us see is from David. He says, trade Pacheco for Monty and Dobbins or Singletary. Yeah, take Monty and Dobbins for sure.
Yeah. I agree.
Chattel says, Sachi equals running backs.
Okay.
I guess he's replying to people. I don't know. Swish says, is my team good as is for a 20-person league? For a 20-person league, that's pretty solid, man. Not going to lie. Losing Pacheco will kill you, but should I
keep going? I'm still trying to find you. What should I do?
Bench and had Brooks, Bucky Allen. I think you're in a great spot, man. You definitely should try and get Carson Steele on that team. Jared says, thoughts on Olave rest of season? I'm thinking of sending Pollard and Bryan for Olave and Deontay. I think that's paying too much for Olave personally. Deontay could be good, but we have to wait and see what that offense looks like with Andy Dalton. We got a super chat from Hello Ted, so he's skipping the queue here. If I can, should I trade Rice for Mike Evans? I'd
I
rather
want
have Rice
Rice.
rest of season.
I
What
want
about you?
Rice. Yeah, still the wide receiver one there. I think he is a clear number one target as well. Mike Evans is going to be potentially flip flopping between him and Godwin on a week to week basis. Give me Rice every week.
I could see that.
Um,
We got another super chat here from Brock. This is his first donation on
Brock
the stream.
Gibbs.
Thanks, man. And he says, drop Zamir, Braylon, Allen, Ty, or Bucky the ad. I have Rashad. I think Zamir is a hold specifically for this week. This week versus the Carolina Panthers is probably the one time this year you feel confident in Zamir being a legit option. So personally, I would be holding him.
Hmm.
I don't know how you feel about that, but I would be
Um,
holding him right now.
I bought him in a video and today on the Fantasy Shorts page, and I said if I can get anything for him, I would. What does that look like? I'm not necessarily sure, depending on what people do. I think people know that Zamir White's play the Carolina Panthers. So, like in a fantasy perspective, should you start him this week? Probably, but like, is he gonna bring even more value after week 3? I think people are smart enough to know that the Panthers are probably just shit, but that could be different with Andy Dalton. So. I'm just still willing trying. I'm trying to trade him as soon as possible because I don't think there's going to be. Because let's just say he doesn't go off this week on a great matchup. That's just going to devalue
See,
him even more.
I just don't agree with the thought process personally, because what can you trade for him for right now?
I don't
Nothing.
know.
You
I
can't
would
get
try
anything.
anything. I would try
Why not just
anything for
hold
Zamir
him
White
to
right now.
see if he does better versus the Panthers? He can only improve his value. He's already worth nothing. I mean, we're getting a super chat where someone wants to drop him. So I just don't agree with the theory
Yeah.
behind that move.
Um. Sorry, I'm just going on because once again, don't I'm using this as a reference. Fancy Pros, right? Because people use Fancy Pros as a reference. Like I would. Tajay Spears is lower than Zamir White. Give me Tajay Spears.
Okay.
Can I get Rico Dowdle? I'll try. I'll try and get him. Can I get a Raheem Mostert who is injured and no one's really doing that? I'm not saying people can do this. I'm just using this as a reference on Fantasy Pros. These are the names in front of him and underneath him. Chase Brown, um, Jonathan Brooks, which I thought you can get. No one's going to be trading Jonathan Brooks. Trey Benson.
Yeah,
Um,
Jonathan Brooks is the only name you've mentioned so far that I prefer over Zamir.
and I understand. I get it. I get it. Hopefully that helps.
Like I
Hopefully that
said,
helps, there, bro.
in my opinion, I don't think you can trade him for anything. He has a great matchup. If he doesn't do well, you still can't trade him for anything. If he does do well, people might be more interested. That's
Yeah.
my opinion. But we got another super
Um,
chat here from Chuba who says
Chuba.
McCaffrey or Pacheco rest of season. McCaffrey for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Trade
when he
Darwin
comes
for
back,
Garrett
he'll still be a
Wilson.
great starting option. And the reality is Pacheco fractured a fibula. I I know that he could come back in like 6 to 8 weeks, but that sounds kind of crazy to me.
You know what's crazy? You know who had the same injury last year? I mean, maybe it was towards the end of the season.
Mark Andrews, right?
No, it was Tank Dell.
Mm.
And they went to the playoffs. And he had 6 weeks. He got injured in week 13. I'm pretty
Is
sure he
that?
had.
Are we sure that was the injury he had?
Yeah, he broke his leg. A fractured fibula means a broken leg.
Yeah. I
You know?
can't remember.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
it was.
you're right. It was
I don't
it
know.
was a
Now,
fibula.
now I don't know the severity.
But
Like,
that was December 3rd.
yeah. To be fair, he could have came back and played in the playoffs if it was 6 to 8 weeks. Because they went to
Yeah.
the playoffs. And they went to the. Did they lose in the first round?
That'd be
Yes, they
pushing
did.
it.
They lost.
No,
They lost in the
no,
first round to the
they
Browns.
won in the first round. They beat the Browns.
Did they? They beat the Browns. Okay, so technically he could have. He could have came back.
Yeah, I guess theoretically, but December versus September.
Sure,
know.
it's a bit tough. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Emmanuel Sauce, though, appreciate the donation. He says trade Godwin for Garrett Wilson. I do have Garrett Wilson higher in my rankings rest of season, so
I
I
want
would be
Garrett
okay
Wilson,
with
but
it in theory.
I would say this:
The vibes are not there. But
vibes are not there for Garrett Wilson, and if he comes out again and not having more than like 15 or 17 points this week, we need to reevaluate. I mean, 12 points a week, 11 targets. I love it. 6 targets in week 2, 10 points. I get it. He plays New England. He has Plays New England next week, then Denver week 4 against Patrick Surtain, Minnesota against Stephon Gilmore. I think he's with Minnesota right now. I mean, he needs to do something. And now,
Yeah.
Justin,
Yeah.
I don't see his chat unless you see it.
No, I don't see a question from him either.
He had one and then he retracted it.
Did he? I don't
Up
see
top
one.
there. I
Remember,
don't
guys,
see
we're
one
only
either.
going live for the next 4 minutes. 40 minutes past the hour. We are ending the stream. Got a lot of content to make for y'all.
Justin, man, you can just put your question in the chat and we'll answer it, but we don't see it currently. So let
No.
us know. We appreciate the
All right.
super chat.
Next non-super chat question is okay. Wait, Justin's question is here.
Yeah,
I
he says
traded Pittman and Keenan Allen for Jerome Ford.
Oh boy.
Oh wow. I lost
I lost
Pacheco and
Pacheco
Etienne as my
and
other running
Etienne.
backs. Is it a good
Good
trade?
trade. I mean, I love Jerome Ford, but not for Michael Pittman and Keenan Allen. And I hate Michael Pittman with Anthony Richardson. Just being completely transparent with you, Justin, that's not a good trade.
No,
You
it's
could
not.
have
I would have
gotten
both of those wide receivers ranked ahead as their own individuals ahead of Jerome Ford rest of season.
yeah, you could have gotten as a package for Michael Pittman and Keenan Allen. I mean, is it crazy to say you could have gotten like a Derrick Henry, a Ramondre Stevenson, a
That
Kenneth
is crazy, I
Walker?
think. But
Is that crazy?
I do think
Okay.
that's crazy, but you could have gotten at least to like J.K. Dobbins or like Montgomery, maybe.
Monty, okay.
Aaron Jones, maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I just being honest with you, if someone sent me an offer for Keenan Allen and I was getting Jerome Ford straight up, I would say no. I want Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen had 11 targets his first game. I mean, look, if Jerome Ford was still the workhorse in week 2, you might feel a little bit better about this, but Jerome Ford wasn't even the number 1 running back in week 2 for the Browns. It was Deonta Foreman who led the team in touches.
Yeah, it was Foreman,
So
which is freaking annoying.
we don't even know if Jerome Ford is going to be a startable name. You know, we have to see more trends here, but no. Look, I hope you guys come here for honesty and transparency. And if that's what I can offer you, Justin, I think you made a bad trade, unfortunately. I really do.
Yeah, but we
And I'm
appreciate
sorry.
the super
I want it
chat,
to
man.
work out for you. But this is a type of question you should probably ask on stream before you make the trade, you know?
Yeah.
And that's actually a good segue. I mean, we have been getting a lot of questions on the daily over on the Flock Fantasy website. People who want to know, should I make this trade? Should I start this player? What does my team feel like? I'm going to put a link in the chat, guys. If you ever want to access us and we aren't live, you can submit a question over there. For example, Justin, if you had sent that question there, we would have replied and been like, hey, don't do this, okay? But I do hope
Yeah.
it works out for you. Hopefully you understand where
The
we're coming from.
best, and I'll just add on to that. Like the best way I'll explain it, maybe for people that like the way maybe I explain stuff. I'm not saying you explained it wrong, you explained it great.
Sure.
Is basically a super chat offline. That's all it is. So
Yeah.
if we're not available and you say, hey, I want to ask him a question, just drop your super chat on that Flock Fantasy website, which is the website that Zach and I and all the other content creators are building to make it great for you guys. So it's just a super chat offline. So we appreciate you guys, but we do have another super chat here in night.
This is probably the
He said,
last question, by the way, unless there's
Yeah.
any other super chats for today.
Yeah, he said keep Benson, Corm, or get Steele. He said Brooks on my IR.
I think that's a really tough question to answer.
Personally, I'm going to keep Benson, and if you were able to drop Blake Corum, I'm going to pick up Carson Steele.
Well, that's so that is his option. Are you saying you would drop Corum for Steele?
I would, but I would keep Benson for Steele over Steele. And the only reason why I'm doing this is because if you were here earlier, I did bring out a short saying that I think that a lot of defenses are just going to stack the box. There's no Puka Nacua anymore. There's no Cooper Kupp. And I know a lot of people last year are comparing it to, well, Kyron had a great season last year with Puka Nacua, but Puka Nacua was on the field. Now both of their guys that they don't have to cover, they have no threat at wide receiver. I don't see how Blake Corum gets on the field unless he gets injured, which means they're probably just going to stack the box still.
Yeah, theoretically, Steele over Corum, but that could be such a bad decision so quickly.
I agree because
It
then
could
Corum
be such
becomes
a terrible decision so quickly. If Kyron goes down, or even Badaki, if we see a split backfield here soon, you will absolutely regret it. Because Kyron Williams is one of the least efficient running backs in the NFL right now. He has been so bad.
Yeah.
The touchdowns are the only thing that have saved him.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I would do Steele, but I think you have to recognize that it could so easily go wrong. All right, last question of the day. It's a super chat from Charlie. Y'all grabbing QJ or P. Ryan with the number one waiver or waiting? I'd probably just grab P. Ryan and see what happens. I think it's more difficult to get a running back than a wide receiver to start right now.
Yeah. I would say it depends on what you need, Charles. If you're telling me you have Bijan Robinson and James Cook on your team, and let's just say you have a Zach Moss as a third running back, I'm going to pick up Quentin Johnston. But it just really depends on what you need in that, just what you need on your team, essentially. So give me QJ, but I can understand the P. Ryan sentiment.
Yeah. All right, guys, that is it for today. We appreciate you big time. We got to go record some content. Again, if you really want to ask us a question and we're not available or we're not live right now, I'll put a link in the chat. You can ask us a question at any time offline. Consider it an offline super chat, like Badaki said. That's it. We appreciate you. Go watch the start sits we released today. All love.